Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the HOU Bullcast Show. I'm your host, Aaron, as you all know, and welcome back to another episode of Sunday Football. It happens every week. We're always on. I'm always on for y'all to listen, and I thank y'all for watching. Once again, I'm so grateful for everyone that views into my channel, gives me, the reason to make content, and I love doing this. I can't tell you how much I appreciate doing what I do for y'all and for y'all to enjoy what I do. So thank y'all. But overall, we're going to go over what happened today, which was the Texans versus Titans game, where the Texans defeated in belt-to-ass fashion, 26-0, beating the Titans, going on to be 1-3. Titans moving on to 0-4. And overall, the game was all right at best. From a criticizing Texan fan's point of view. Of course, if you're the nothing's wrong type of Texans fan, then of course you're going to say, oh, nothing was wrong all game. We looked good, which in the first two drives we did look good. We moved the ball all the way down to get 2 field goals out of it, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't what we wanted. We wanted touchdowns, and that didn't happen until the fourth quarter. So we're going to go over today's game. I wrote down all of my notes about just all my thoughts on the game, just notes jotted down during the game as the game was played. I was more of a reviewer of the game more than a fan, but I was still a fan whenever we decided to score touchdowns that we scored, especially scoring red zone touchdowns that we finally have seen. We're no longer 7 on red zone touchdowns. We're no longer the team that hasn't scored a red zone touchdown in the NFL, so I'm grateful on that. I'm grateful that we scored more than 20 points. That's what I was looking for, because if we ended the game 19-0, I would have been happy, but still, I would have liked to see more. We could have scored more, which is, of course, we could have scored more in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, but we didn't stay competent on the offense. We still stayed anemic of how we've been looking these past few weeks, but we still looked as if we were trying to adjust some things, which they were adjusting today. They were building their chemistry. It felt like they were all building their chemistry together. They were all building their momentum together, and that's what looked good. But it all stemmed down from the fourth quarter, not the first 3 quarters. But we're going to go over it. As I said, first 3 quarters were not good offensively, but defensively, the defense held their own all 3 quarters from the Titans scoring any points at all. Yeah, Sly, he missed 2 field goals, so you can still count that as defense held their own for him missing 2 field goals. We'll see what the Titans do with Sly, because usually if NFL teams' kickers miss 2 field goals, they're going to be like, all right, kick him out, because if you're going to be missing field goals like this, we can't have you. From the first 3 quarters, CJ was just hit too many times. From when he passed the ball, he was hit. There was that one play where he threw a bullet pass and stepped up into it, but was immediately rocked in the chest. And honestly, I saw him on the ground. I was scared that it was a major injury, but I know it was just him getting the wind knocked out of him, which it did look like that. I felt bad for CJ right there, because that was a straight chest hit. Overall, there was only 2 sacks, so in general, all the game. So shout out to the offensive line for holding their own. 1 sack was just CJ holding on to the ball too long, in which 3 defensive Titan players attacked him, but that was on CJ because he held the ball too long. He had Woody Marks a few yards downfield, but it was one where he should have just thrown it on the ground. Woody was right there, so they would have counted that as an incomplete pass. But so that's on CJ. CJ, you got to make a better decision than that and just get rid of the ball instead of taking a sack and losing more yardage than you should have, especially when we know we haven't been liking our third down situations, which we could have been which we've been dealing with from 3rd and 19, 3rd and 17, which are just terrible downs to be on, not comfortable at all. The second sack of the game was, people are blaming Jake Andrews. People blaming I believe Lake and Tomlinson. I believe they were blaming one of them too, or even Ingram. But overall, that was just a great defensive play by Jeffrey Simmons. It was going to be a play action pass. CJ hiked it from under center. I know he was about to play action pass, but even before he could even try to play action pass, Jeffrey Simmons just crossed over Jake Andrews in 1 second. Everybody was like, we couldn't even get 1 second of a play going. So that's not on the offensive line. That was just, of course, it was a formation wrong. They should have been ready for a play like that, but it was just too much of an easy play for Jeffrey Simmons to come through. But in Jeffrey Simmons, he's an all-star. He's going to make a play like that. So that's a great play to Jeffrey Simmons. So that shout out to him for that. As I said, the defensive side held their own all 4 quarters, as you know, the offense stayed anemic in the first 3 quarters. And what, as Texans fans, what we just found out about an hour ago or so, I believe from Cody Stutz's Twitter page or Landry Locker, it was said that Matt Burke called all defensive duties all game, while D'Amico stayed as the head coach as he should be. D'Amico was able to stay on the clock management, stay on the calls in case of a flag was called. He didn't have to have the defensive duties all on his head. That's why we're glad. That's why that's why we sometimes always say, D'Amico, give the duties to Matt Burke. That's why Matt Burke is there. He's a good DC. Keep it there. And what did Matt Burke do? He had that defense looking good. He had the coverages looking good. He had the man-on-man looking good. And what did he do? He kept the Titans' offense to 0 points. So, D'Amico, let him stay there until, let's say, something doesn't work, especially going up against a tough offense like the Ravens next week. But we'll see as we go of what happens with play calling, with everything involved with that. But overall, Matt Burke, great job to you, man. When it comes to special teams, Tommy Townsend, he made his punts. Great punts today. Great punts. So that's what I'm glad about. Kaimi, he made 2 field goals from the 47-43, but missed a 54-yarder. So I don't want to blame him too much on the 54-yarder, because 54-yarders, like, I know nowadays there are like chip shots to kickers, but they're still long field goals. So Kaimi made 2, but I'm not gonna hold him down like that on 1 missed field goal. But as I said before, he is our kicker. He's going to be here for a while, so I'm not going to put too much. Not everybody's going to go 100% completion all season unless you're Brandon Aubrey from the Cowboys. When it comes to the games, like I said, all 3 quarters were anemic in a way with offensively. They weren't too anemic. It was just too slow. You could hear the fans booing still, and the offense deserved that, the boos, because when you come to Houston, when you come home, you gotta make points. You gotta make your drives happen. You can't just sit on your ass and act like, oh, we got 4th down, we're gonna be okay. No, you gotta move. You gotta make sure your fans know that this offense that they've been seeing the past 3 weeks isn't the offense that's gonna come in today and play, especially against a defensive team that, like I said earlier today, that is ranked 30th in points allowed per game, in which you did accomplish in the 4th quarter. But you got the job done at the end of the game. As I said, end of the third, and what started it all was end of the 3rd and the start of the 4th was what generated the start of great things. Except at the end of the 3rd quarter, this is before we got our first touchdown. We had back-to-back penalties on the offense side, from Jake Andrews holding to Dalton Schultz offensive pass interference from a screen, I believe, but I don't know. It wasn't. There was a little bit of bad flags like that, like offensive pass interference. So I'm not gonna hold Schultz on that too bad. But blocking otherwise, I'm not gonna lie. Blocking all game, they held their own. Like when it comes to screen passes, when it comes to just giving CJ some time, they held their own against good defensive players on that line. So I'm not going to discredit the Titans acting like they have a crap defensive line. They don't. Jeffrey Simmons is on there. They have a rough secondary. They do. Rough linebackers. They do. We'll get into their defense a little bit more as we go, but their defense line isn't bad. It's their offense. They're like the Texans. They have a good defense, but their offense is way worse than ours, as you've seen today. From those 2 flags on the offense side, as I said, from Jake Andrews and Dalton Schultz, we were on 2nd and 33. Because it all came down from a first down. That's crazy. Two flags because while on first down, so it held it. And then after the 2 flags and us having to redo 2 first downs, there was a negative 2-yard play, rush play with Rudy Marks, so that was bad. And then which led to us deep down in our field, 2nd and 33, and I was honestly all game saying we need to deep pass this ball. We weren't seeing any deep passes all game, and it just felt frustrating knowing that we're not taking chances, we're not doing this, we're not doing that, especially when you have core receivers that can go deep like Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, Christian Kirk, and who else? Nico Collins. and that's what happened. CJ hiked the ball in shotgun. You saw on the left side of the field Nico going up against who? Snead. Who? I don't know. But you saw Nico burst out from the man-on-man coverage. He double-stunted him, and he got a 37-yard pass against Snead. If he would have stayed in bounds, if he wouldn't have lost his footing, I honestly believe Nico could have got a tutty from that. But, it was a great pass, great momentum drive right there. And as we kept driving down the field, we got to the 12-yard marker of the Titans' red zone. And what did that lead to? Our first red zone touchdown, which was a bootleg to the right. And who'd you see scooting behind the offensive line to make that bootleg catch? Woody Marks. Woody Marks caught a 12-yard pass catch touchdown, his first touchdown of his career. So congrats to Woody Marks. You are going to be great for this team, and I totally believe that for the future, especially you being a rookie right now. Like, you look good. After that drive, Cam Ward, when we scored, we kicked it off, gave it back to Titans. But after that drive, Cam Ward and the Titans, they were driving a little bit. They were moving down the field just a few bit, nothing too scary, but it was to where, like, all right, we got to stop them. Defense was blitzing as much as they could. They were giving them pressure as much as they could, and it finally happened where Cam Ward ran out of the pocket. No. He was still in the pocket, but threw kind of like a sideward bullet pass, I believe. I don't. It just, his passing just kind of looks weird with how he throws it, especially how he hikes it, like how he stands when he hikes it. Like, it kind of caught me off guard. But he threw a dart pass to Io Manor, and it popped right into Io Manor's chest. He tried catching it, but it popped right out. And who was there to grab it? The man who got a contract extension this offseason, which was Derek Stingley, with his first interception of the season. Once he caught that interception, man, you felt the momentum of the defense getting excited, the offense getting excited. You saw D'Amico right next to Stingley just hopping up and down excited, because this was the momentum we've been looking for all season long. And you feel like this is a good change for the defense as well as the offense, knowing that your defense will get you back on the field because of the players that are on there, like Derek Stingley, like Kamari Lassiter, like Jalen Petrie, all these guys that can make a play happen. And that's what I'm glad to see, with their chemistry all building together, instead of feeling like both sides of the ball just don't want to help each other out. One thing that I'd seen from tweeted out, and I forgot who tweeted it out, but as the game was started and going to halftime and all that, they reported that MJ Stewart caught 3 pass blocking attempts. And who's MJ Stewart? If coming from other NFL fans and all that, MJ Stewart is the man that stepped up after we cut C.J. Gardner-Johnson. C.J. Gardner-Johnson had 0 pass block attempts all season. MJ Stewart already had 3. So you see who's making an impact. So I'm not going to get into the C.J. Gardner-Johnson more than I should, but MJ Stewart stepped up because he's been on this team for a while now. He knows his chemistry with this team, with D'Amico, with the secondary. So he's not going to make himself selfish as to what play he goes after. All right, and after that drive from the interception, we were already pretty much on our side of the field for us to score, and that's what happened. After a few plays, we were moving down the field, and the way this play happened, it was more on the players, because CJ was about to hike it. He called a hard count in which I don't know who it was, but it was a defensive end for the Titans. You can see he jumped too early, encroachment. They already threw the flag, and we kind of stood still, and I was kind of yelling at the TV like, CJ, hike the ball and make a play happen. And that's what CJ did. He hiked the ball. Christian Kirk did I believe a curl route, and Jaden Higgins did just a deep cut route, going straight ahead, and CJ threw a beautiful pass to him for a 24-yard touchdown, with that being Higgins' first touchdown. So that was a great situational play for CJ to make. He saw that the play was dead already because of a flag, so hike the ball. Well, no, not that the play isn't dead, it's still alive, because the offense can still do something with it, and that's what he did, and that's what we'd like to see. We need to take dominance on situations like that, and that's what we're glad to see. So that was a beautiful touchdown for us to see. Next drive for the Titans after we scored that touchdown, it was a turnover on downs for the Titans because Titans were already in desperation. Most of they were trying to go for it on 4th down, but defense held their own. So once again, thanks to Matt Burke for calling the calls he played on defense, giving Cam Ward a hard game to play. Cam Ward struggled, and I'll get into that later with stats and everything, but Cam Ward, he did not look good with his family watching in the stands. He is from the Houston area, but he did not look good, and that's just from a great defensive team. And I know with us shutting the Titans out, our defensive points per game allowed is going to go lower, and we were already 5th in the league, allowing only 17 points. So I know that we're more likely going to move up to say 3rd or 4th. Who knows? But that was just a great game defensively. We got the ball back. We were moving. We were driving, and I believe it was due to a holding. Yeah, it was a holding call on Titus Howard, I believe, and it moved us to 3rd and 17 while moving down the field. And as it was 3rd and 17, I was kind of like, all right, well, damn, we're because you haven't seen all season for us. You haven't seen all season for us to accomplish first downs from long drives from a 3rd and 17 or 3rd and 19, as I said before. But on this 3rd and 17, due to Titus's holding call, it turned into a first down. And why? It was from a screen pass to Woody Marks for a 20-yard catch, and that was, I'm not gonna be lying, it was a beautiful screen. I believe it was Jake Andrews, and I believe it was Dalton. I believe it was. I gotta look back and see who made the blocks, but they did great on the blocks. They honestly called each other to see who to block, and that's what happened. Woody Marks, I swear, man, he made the cut in between blockers. He made the cut in between the tackle, got the first down with the 20-yard catch, as I said, and it was just a beautiful first down. And you're excited after he made that after a first down from a 3rd and 17. You're excited. You're like, all right, what are we gonna do next? After that play, man, Woody Marks, 18-yard tutty, a rushing touchdown. By running to the left tackle side, he made a beautiful cut and a beautiful juke, and just dived in the end zone. And that was honestly the best touchdown I've seen all season, because Woody Marks, oh my god, dude! I know I've been talking about him all these weeks, especially on JDW's channel, but Woody Marks is him. Woody Marks is him, and that was a beautiful touchdown. I can't wait to see Joe Mixon come back, and I feel Woody Marks will take over Nick Chubb's job, because Woody Marks is a dog, and yeah, I love Nick Chubb, but Woody Marks has shown his ass off as to who he is. He's the rookie from USC who led the college football world last year in the number one pass catching running back, and that's what he was today too. And running wise, he just had his vision. His vision was beautiful today, and you could see it from him. He was happy. Everybody was excited for his career game that he had today. It was just beautiful with what he had today, and I'll get into his stats as well later. But overall, that was pretty much it for the scoring, because once he scored that touchdown, it was already, I believe, like 4 minutes left in the game, so the game was pretty much over. It was already 26-0, so it was just the back and forth, like, oh, kills the clock. Titans are already pretty much like, whatever, we're trying to kill the clock to get out of this game because it's 26-0. Jeez, and I'm watching the Cowboys and Packers game right now, and Cowboys defense, they are attacking Jordan Love, and that's crazy to see. Even if y'all saw it, the Clowney recovered a fumble, crazy to see. But let's get into the stats, y'all. CJ, overall, good game. He was 22 for 28. And I believe the first half he was 10 for 10, but it was kind of just, it wasn't his deep routes, it wasn't his deep throws, it was more of his just short dump offs that he could make completions out of. So it was a good game, but a good game to end it regardless. So he went 22 for 28, 233 pass yards, averaging 8.3. Averaging 8.3, scoring 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he rushed for 11 yards. And thank God he got the 2 passing touchdowns, because I had that for prize picks. But let's get into the rushing game. Woody Marks, the dog, 17 attempts, 69 rushing yards, 1 touchdown off of running, 4 catches on the passing side, 4 catches, 50 yards, 1 touchdown. And so overall, he had 2 touchdowns, 119 yards. So great game from him. And he had a big block on Quandre Diggs. If you didn't see that play, go look it up on Twitter. Go look it up on YouTube. He honestly pancaked the hell out of Quandre Diggs. Like, he threw him down. And I was just like, dude, this is a rookie. This is a rookie blocking a safety like this, and it was a beautiful block. And this is why I say Woody Marks is going to eventually, who knows, be a starter next week against the Ravens. Who knows? We're going to see it as time goes. But Woody Marks is a dog, as I've said before. And I'm going to keep saying that because I've said it from the start of the season. I believed that Woody Marks was going to be something special for us, especially being a late round pick, and that's what especially us trading up for him to go get him, because we didn't know who we were trading up for. And once we saw that we were drafting a running back, especially after signing Chubb, having Mixon, we were just like, all right, it's a decent pick. But I was already hearing the background noise of who Woody Marks was, and I was like, okay, let's see what he's got, and look what he's done so far. And so I'm happy to see that. When it comes to receiving, Nico Collins, 4 catches, 79 yards. Then you got Jaden Higgins, 1 catch for 24 yards, which is a touchdown. And once again, I'm kind of not liking. I'm like what? Like I know I said in my pregame review, I wanted to see more catches from Jaden Higgins, and they just once again didn't do that. They targeted Christian Kirk, a couple times, but it was just that one play to Jaden Higgins, which was the encroachment, which killed the play. So I'm not even going to call that as a Nick Caley play to Jaden Higgins. I call that as a CJ to Higgins play. The vet to the rookie chemistry right there. So I'm not even going to give that to Nick Caley. He's still not using the rookies, as I've said before, and he needs to start, especially going up against a Ravens defense that is going to be pissed off heading into next week, and I'll talk about that later. When we get to the offensive line side of the ball, offensive line in general, as I said before, they held their own, allowing only 2 sacks. 1 sack was, like I said, was on CJ for holding on to the ball too long, and the other sack was the Jeffrey Simmons getting there in 1 second sack. So, like I said, Tennessee, they have a good defensive line. So the offense holding their own as it did. Thank God nobody got hurt. I'm glad I didn't see no injury on the offensive line. Just a few times where they were laying down, holding onto their leg, but I'm sure it was either a bad cramp or just a small strain. But overall, they held their own offensively, giving CJ the amount of time that they gave him, and it was a great game from the offensive line. And you can go to the all 22 just watching the offensive line play, and the formations, the blocking, they did good, and I was glad to see that. On the defense side of the ball, I'll call the MVPs of each side of the ball every week. That's what I'll start doing. MVP side of the ball on the offense, of course, as I've already spoken generally on him specifically, is Woody Marks. So good job to Woody Marks. And if you haven't seen it, the locker room video with D'Amico giving out the game balls, which was the first game ball to Woody Marks. So congrats to Woody Marks on his first game ball. The second game ball, who I was already going to call MVP of the defense side, was Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter ended the game with 3 tackles, 1 assist, and 2 situational great sacks on Cam Ward. He honestly was a ferocious defensive player on the defense today. He got his 2 sacks. He looked good. You can see he was the reason why the defense was so pumped up. So good job to Daniil. When it comes to the Titans side of the ball, from how much we kept them quiet, Cam Ward came in into the game. He ended the game 10 for 26, 108 yards, averaging 4.2 after with the passes, no touchdowns, 1 interception. So Cam Ward had a bad game. He did. His offensive line couldn't give him enough time. They did give him enough time at times, but the secondary was holding their own against his receivers because the Tennessee receivers aren't good. You got Tyler Lockett. A.M. Minor, he's a good one. I say give him a couple. Give him this year, give him next year. I think he'll turn into a good talent, but overall they just don't got enough weapons for Cam Ward to succeed. They threw him into the fire, and Cam Ward, I'm not even like Cam Ward will probably be the most hit quarterback at the end of the season. I'm not even gonna lie about that because their offensive line is not good. It's even I think their offensive line is worse than ours, to be honest with you. And it's just based on him with his situational awareness as well as like CJ holding on the ball too long or not making the right decision on where he's going to go, and then just bad passes, because you could see all game that Cam Ward was making some bad passes, which is why he went 10 for 26. Tony Pollard, he had 14 rush attempts for 64 yards, averaging 4.6 per carry. So defense held their own. Our defense is such a good run-stopping defense, so they held him under 100 yards, which was good to see. From the receiving side, their leading receiver was, as I said, A.U. Manor. He got 2 catches for 44 yards, so that was their leading receiver, so they kept their receivers quiet all game as well. So and I believe it was Stingley on Ayo Manor, but I'd have to see on who was the majority on him. But 2 catches for 44 yards, like, that's just shutting down the receivers in general, knowing that was their leading receiver. But overall, that's pretty much the entirety of the game. As I said, overall, I had only one good quarter, which was the fourth quarter. We need to do better, especially going up against, as I said, pissed off Ravens team because they lost to the Chiefs in a bad fashion. So next Sunday, it'll be in Baltimore at 12 o'clock. A 1-3 Texas team versus a 1-3 Ravens team, and I don't know. I'm not confident. I mean, I don't know if I'm confident. I don't know if I'm optimistic about that game because when we step in Baltimore, it's always an ugly game. But we'll see as it goes heading into that game. When it comes to the offensive side, as I said, I'm still not sold on Nick Haley with today's game. With his play calling, especially because you saw all 3 quarters with his play calls. Today's game was mainly won based on players like Woody, like CJ, like Jaden Higgins, like Nico. It was all based on the players, especially the offensive line. The play calls, I feel, were majority, as I said, on the players. They made their own plays happen. Yeah, they could have been formed by Nick Haley, but it's the end of the play that matters, and that was the players making the end of the play happen, like a touchdown, like a first down, like anything like that. It's always on the players. Nick Haley's just calling simple play because his plays are still not looking like they're an elite call. He's just coming up with some random crap for CJ to adjust, for CJ to watch for the blitz and the stunts, and that's what happened today. The offensive line was calling their own. They were calling out any blitzes that they saw. They were holding their own for a bit, but there were a good amount of pressures, but still, they held their own. Players all held their own. Defense side of the ball, players held their own. Special teams, they did their job. So, good job overall. Good job overall to them all game. But as I said, it all came down to the fourth quarter in which they took advantage. But we can't see that next week against a good offensive side of the ball Ravens team. Yeah, they struggled against the Chiefs today, but they are still a hungry offense with Lamar's speed, with Derrick Henry's toughness, with DeAndre Hopkins coming back home to Houston to face off against us. Say Flowers, a speedy receiver. So it's going to be a good defensive game versus a good defense versus offensive game next week. But when it comes to our offense versus defense, well, we'll see what happens. But overall, guys, that's all I got for you today. I thank you once again for tuning into this video. Good job to the Texans for this W, shutting out the Titans. I believe this is our second shutout of our entirety because our first shutout was in 2010 against the Titans as well. So great job to the Texans today. Great win. This is a win we needed to see, especially from the offensive side, even though it was only for one quarter. But defensively, they held their own, looking like the number one defense that they should be. The defense that will be the reason we win games. Even though that's sad to say that your defense is the main reason you win the games, but still, defenses win Super Bowls. Offenses, they need to hold their own and make points happen. No matter if it's a field goal, no matter if it's a touchdown, you need to make your points happen. You need to make your drives happen. You need to make sure your players have that chemistry, have that connection, have that camaraderie to move the ball down the field, knowing that they're in situations that they need to score, like the red zone, in which we did today. So congrats to the offense. I'm glad y'all did your thing today. And overall, I've got nothing negative to say. It's just, like I said, the only negative thing to say is fire Nick Haley. Fire Nick Haley. I'm still not sold on you. But overall, guys, thank y'all for watching. I appreciate y'all so much. And I'll bring more content all week. As I've said, bring in the weekly picks. I'm gonna go into more coverages over the weekly picks, as someone commented on my video over getting into more discussion over the rankings of teams. So I'll definitely do that for y'all. But I'm gonna do my best in every video. I want to do my best, pushing myself to do what I can to make myself better when it comes to videos, because I can stutter. I can do this and do that when talk too fast. But I'm gonna do my best for y'all. We're gonna make this channel go up, and I can't do that without y'all. So please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch up.